We are Things I Found Online. Today with actress legend Andrea Evans. And we're discussing Me Too in the casting couch. Joining us is comedian, entrepreneur, and one swell guy, Jamie Elcroft. Me, I'm Joe, as in Joe Cipriano. Tossing it now to Louise Palenker like this. Louise.
Caught it. Thank you.
Right, good catch.
Our guest is
Nice
soap
catch.
actress, TV legend star Andrea Evans.
Woohoo!
Hey.
You can Google her, and
All right.
if you do this along with us at home, you may get similar results.
Let's do that.
Although
Let's
your
Google.
results may vary. Let's Google.
Can you feel yourself
Andrea
being
I'm being Googled.
Evans.
Googled at the
I
moment?
feel it.
Do you
I
feel
sense it.
It's kind of, it tickles.
It does.
Yeah.
Ooh, look at our Google machine.
There's
It came
me.
up. Andrea
I'm being
Evans.
Wikipedia'd.
Andrea Lynn Evans is an American actress. She is most recognized for her portrayal of Tina Lord on the ABC soap opera One Life to Live, a role she played from 1978 to 81 and 1985 to 90, returning in 2008, 2011. Evans also appeared on the soap operas The Young and the Restless, The Bold and the Beautiful, and Passions. So when you keep leaving One Life to Live and coming back, that's like 3 lives that you've lived right there in that span.
Right there. I've lived many
So
lives.
were you that neighbor that just, they were like, oh, good, she's gone. And then you'd be ding dong, and then you'd be back.
How did you know?
Wow.
That was your character arc. So who is Tina Lord? What is up with her? What was she all about?
She was kind of the girl you love to hate, but very lovable at the same time. I tend to play bad girls.
How many marriages?
On that show?
Who,
Yeah.
Andrea or the character?
Tina Lord.
Yeah,
Tina
I
Lord.
gotcha.
Yeah.
On that show, I think 5 or 6.
Wow.
But several to
Wow.
the same guy.
Okay.
And there may be
love that.
more.
That happens.
Yeah.
I'm not
That
sure.
happens. Well, how many resurrections?
Ooh.
No, I
Weren't
never
you
died.
killed off at one
I never
point?
died. I was on death row twice, though.
What
Oh
were
my gosh.
what were some of your let's say if your character came upon a
Midnight Clear.
just a series of unfortunate events, have you been electrocuted? Have you been drowned?
Oh, I've been
What?
electrocuted,
Okay.
drowned, shot, run over, hung.
Who hasn't?
You know,
come on.
I don't know what all else. Poison.
Every day is a new
Poisoned.
adventure.
She
Poisoned.
has
Every
been
day is a new
poisoned.
adventure.
Every
Yes.
day's a new adventure.
Yeah.
I really admire the soap writing teams because they're good. They have to just
Yeah.
keep, because it's every day. And they really
Yeah.
have these storylines, and every character has an arc. And
And in
Relentless.
some ways, it's like the Perils of Pauline. It was just one thing after another, just one thing. Yeah.
Turmoil and agita.
Yeah.
All the
yeah,
time.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
the
But
time.
somehow just always landing on her feet.
Yeah. Did
And
you
then-
know my buddy Michael Damian on YNR?
Oh, yeah, no, he was my boyfriend on Young and the
Oh, he
Restless.
was?
Yes, even though I was married to somebody else.
Oh,
Of course.
Wow.
well, that'll
I know Michael
happen.
for
Wow.
years.
You only have
mean, he's hard-
boyfriends when you're married to somebody else.
Yeah,
right?
that's exactly.
Or you, that's the way it goes on
We've had
soaps.
Michael on
Yes.
a previous iteration of this
Michael
show.
Damian was here in this room.
Wow.
And I was running up and down the halls yelling, Michael Damian is in my house. It was adorable.
Was adorable. And
He found it more annoying.
oh no, I think he liked it.
No, I'm sure he liked
Yeah.
it. He's a nice guy.
He is a very sweet man.
So Andrea has made a documentary about the casting couch in Hollywood called Rocking the Couch. And we're going to take a look at the trailer.
Please do.
You guys have done a wonderful job with the trailer, so let's take a look at that.
Yeah,
and
it's
see if-
awesome.
When I first arrived to LA, I didn't know what to do at all. I had no friends, I didn't know where to go, so I just kind of took it upon myself to learn things. Of course, I went on Craigslist.
For saying an independent film. They needed a woman in my age range, so I submitted my headshot and resume. I got a call to come in, and when I came to the casting, it was in an apartment building.
Wanted to know if I could meet with him later on that evening, around 7:30, which was basically after closing.
It seemed to be a dinner and drinks thing. And I was like 25 at the time, so I was like, okay, well, I don't know what standard protocol is.
The whole dinner was not based anything on my project, and I kept trying to steer it into that direction.
And he opened the door and turned off the light, around and locked the door, started pushing me toward the bedroom. And I said, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing?
So I go and shove him off me.
And he said, you want to do this. The next thing I knew, I was slammed up against a table. I could tell that he had an erection because I could feel it. He raped me.
Back in 1992, I was a sergeant in charge of the Gang Special Investigations Unit for the city of Glendale.
I got involved with the Burbank Police Department in about 1992.
A talent agent was arrested for sexual assault.
And they were looking to use one of my detectives undercover to try and assist their investigation.
Apparently there had been several victims that stated they were sexually either harassed or assaulted by him.
The boss or the employer now makes a pass at you and has sex with you against your will. So then it becomes a sexual assault, and sexual assault includes sexual battery, rape, forcible sexual penetration, sodomy, oral sex, all of that stuff. Those are all crimes.
From Wallace K. to Harvey Weinstein, all these sexual assault victims could have been possibly prevented if the Wallace K. case wasn't swept underneath the carpet.
That is harrowing.
Yeah.
And you must tell us what inspired you to make this documentary.
Well, I am obviously a woman in the entertainment industry, so that in itself inspired me. But, my friend Min Collins, who is one of the other executive producers, and he's a director. He directed me in a film about 7-8 years ago, and we've been fast friends ever since. And I remember we were meeting for coffee right when the Weinstein and Cosby things were kind of coming to a head. And we're like, a couple things. We're like, wow, it's the casting couch thing again. Do people really know what that means? And we're like, oh, somebody's going to make a great documentary about this. And then we just kind of looked at each other and said, let's do this.
Yeah.
So within 2 weeks, we started.
Wow.
And how easy or difficult was it to find women who were willing to come forward and tell their stories?
There were plenty of people who did not want to tell their stories, even though we made a choice. We don't name names. That was not our job. That's somebody else's job. Our job was to tell the stories of people and to tell about this case that happened in 1992, I think it is. And some people did not want to talk about these things. Other people were very anxious to talk about it. And I think we're looking at it as being very therapeutic and helpful
cathartic.
to others.
Yeah, oh, sure. The scary thing is, like that first woman who said, I came to town. It's just scary that a young woman comes to town who's talented and looking to get into the business, and she goes to Craigslist. And what that opens up, and not knowing what you're getting into is scary.
Well, they're just innocent about how many predators there are out there. I mean,
totally.
there are predators in every business.
Yes.
But the acting business, the entertainment business, you go in expecting to get something from someone, a role or a part, and they expect something in return for some perverted reason.
Well, I think there's always been aspects of the entertainment industry that leave it vulnerable to taking liberties. Sounds too,
it's
kind
too soft.
of a
Too
word.
soft.
But so there's a lot that goes on in the evening. There's a lot of it that goes on in the evening, especially if you're in theater or in a nightclub in that kind of setting. There's a lot of alcohol that goes along with being in an evening type of setting. And then it's also it can feel like it could be very transactional, that if I this, then I expect that.
Exactly.
And
transactional is a perfect word. Yeah.
But you know what? I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, I'm just kind of like composing my thoughts. I went to a screening of Andrea's movie, and people walked out, and a lot of people were just stunned. Well, we didn't really know what to say because the stories are so harrowing, and there's a story of a detective who goes undercover as a young, hopeful actress. And she puts herself in great peril by walking into that guy's office.
In a sense, she becomes a victim as well.
And the script unfolds as one might expect. And she was alone with him. So
she's a hero. I mean, she really...
At that time, was she mic'd when she did that?
Yes,
wearing a
with
wire
her associates,
type thing?
but it still took them a while to get in there.
Sure, yeah.
And... but one thing we mentioned about the entertainment industry and how you might do this to expect to get that. I think one of the problems, it's not that sexual abuse, harassment, all these things don't exist in other industries. They do, most definitely. But I think, if you want to be a lawyer, you get your bachelor's, you get an LSAT.
Right, there's a path.
You get a good score.
Yeah.
There's a definite path on how to do it. The arts and the entertainment world, there's not a path.
Right.
So people come here and they don't know looking it up on Craigslist, that never would have even done.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And you don't know who you're meeting with or what you're going to get, but they don't know where to go. The only place they know to go is the union, and it takes them quite a while to get into the union.
In there. Yeah.
And then even if they get in there, you'll find in many cases the union did not help them. You know, and that's the only place we have to get help.
Right.
Maybe SAG-AFTRA should have some sort of ambassadorship program or something where
I think they
when
need
actors come to town.
I think there's a mentorship type program.
Mentorship
but it's,
thing, is there?
They have improved things at SAG-AFTRA. They have. Although for our documentary, we tried probably 30 emails, I don't know how many, to get them to speak, and they would not.
Yeah.
Really?
They have gotten better. There are things in place that weren't in place before. So it is better. But when we're talking about this particular case, which was in the 90s, these women were advised just to let it go.
Yeah. You know, and talking about the path, you know, and how if you're going to be an attorney and how you go about doing that, the problem is a lot of the norms in this business and entertainment. I remember having a video demo done, and the way they did it, the guy who was doing it, it was in his apartment, and you did go to his apartment. You went in there, they had a green screen, and they shot in there. So that's the norm to do it. And then to have a young lady who does not know what they're getting into, it's remarkably scary. I just can't think.
You do. Yeah, you do find yourself invited to all kinds of different situations where, like I have a recording studio. You want to be a singer? Let me record your voice. And
it's in my garage.
Yeah.
Well,
I've walked into many
that's the norm.
Different situations where something could have happened and didn't. I'm quite grateful, but I would imagine when you're trying to find your way and you're told, it's all about who you know, and it's all about relationships, and you need to go to this party, and you need to, go here, and you need to schmooze with it. Be nice to him. How many women have been told that to Harvey about Harvey Weinstein?
True.
Weinstein, be nice to him. He can open doors for you. How nice is too nice?
Right.
Where it's gone too far, and now you don't see an exit strategy.
Right.
Well, I'm hoping that the documentary also serves as somewhat of a cautionary tale.
Yeah.
To people that come to be in the entertainment industry, that come to Los Angeles or New York from some small town somewhere, and hopefully they will see this and kind of learn that the best way to prevent this sort of thing is to protect yourself in advance. Don't put yourself in those situations, and always be wary.
But as you admitted, it's hard not to put yourself in those situations because those are situations of opportunity that you think you're going into, and you think it's going to be chased and purely based on your talent.
But maybe going to Craigslist isn't the best way to help.
Right,
No,
exactly.
And I'm not making fun of the girl. I'm sure that is what people do nowadays.
Or answering an ad in the LA Weekly is not a great way to go about it.
Yeah.
Or like, what are some good ground rules to put into place? For example, if a meeting is going to take place in a hotel room, that's a red flag.
Absolutely.
If someone says drinks, why can't they say lunch? Why does it have to be drinks?
Exactly. And in doing some other interviews about the documentary, some people have brought up to me, and I personally think it's a great idea. When we go to a doctor's office, there's always somebody else in the room. How come when you do go to somebody's hotel room, and there are meetings in hotel rooms, I've had them, why isn't there somebody else present?
Right.
Why don't they have to? If they want to get agreement from the union, why don't they have to have another producer present?
To protect both sides.
There's a good strategy there. You bring along your best friend and tell the person that's your manager, and at least you have somebody else in the room with you.
Right.
The most harrowing, memorable scene in Andrea's movie is this woman describes having been nearly raped, exiting the office, and seeing another woman sitting in the waiting room waiting to go in, and not believing that she had the right to warn that person.
Geez.
And I think we can definitely change that part of the conversation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But it's hard. It's, and you have to remember, this was decades ago. And I think we've all, been in the business long enough to know that this existed. I'm sure we've all seen it. I have seen it.
Well, look at the R. Kelly thing. He turned it into a cult, for goodness sake. I'll make you a star.
Right.
Come along with me, right along here. Just like Michael Jackson.
Oh, yeah.
I'll make you a star.
But you know what? I do think there's a societal change right now where we are listening to the victims. I think before, and the example I give, not to throw it so much into a feministic discussion here, but when the Catholic Church was being, these men who had been young boys abused by priests and things came forward, nobody questioned them.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have to have proof.
That's right.
But decades of asking women to prove the same thing. I think we're seeing a societal shift where people are starting to look at victims differently.
Thank goodness.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I also think there's a standard whereby that, the casting couch is so legendary that there may be a suspended belief that women did that to get a role and that's okay because that was the agreement and that they signed up for it.
There are people who do that. I have seen it myself.
And they don't come forward.
These aren't the people you're going to hear from.
No.
Yeah.
I'm sure there have been careers made in Hollywood that way.
Right.
But they aren't going to tell you that.
Yeah.
But the ones that are coming forward as victims, they need to be heard.
Right. But even going back to where it's an agreement and or there's some sort of understanding where if you agree to that, you'll get a role. I still think that's abusive because I don't think those are acceptable terms.
Well, I agree. And I would never choose that path. But those aren't the people we are addressing, really.
Okay.
The people we are addressing are the people that were abused and attacked.
So we're going to talk a little bit about the power of the documentary to change the conversation because, we've sort of been watching it unfold before our eyes first with R. Kelly and then with Leaving Neverland.
Absolutely.
And then you watch social media react to this and then the conversation is just off and running. And people are saying, why didn't we ever see this? It was right in front of us.
We did see it. There used to be an expression, I slept my way to the top. Who did you sleep with to get this? It used to be a joke, and that is changing.
Yeah.
That perception of that is changing. So,
That's true.
it is. It's just like Andrea says, it's a different world. It's a different consciousness that hopefully we're entering into. And I think the examples that we've seen in society, starting from the top down, have made us realize that the abuse, it's coming from the fish's head, and it's working its way down to the tail. We've got to change the role models we have in this country. It is systemic. Exactly.
Well, there's been a lot of institutionalized abuse permitted, sort of like a bachelor party where if everybody is going to sit on a stripper's lap, no one's talking. It's like we're all in on this, and so no one's talking. And and I think people at the top tend to surround themselves with other people who engage in the same behavior, so no one's telling on anybody.
Exactly.
But the documentary, as an art form or as a conversation starter, there's no interruptions. There's no break for commercial. It's not a courtroom where someone's running interference. The filmmaker, you or Dan Reed or whoever made R. Kelly, is spelling it out layer by layer by layer, allowing the viewer to take in what they can, what a human is capable of taking in one layer at a time till it builds to a tipping point where the viewer just says, oh my gosh, this is what's happening. And I think it was coming in dribs and drabs before, and it was easy for people to say, yeah, but I really like this song. And I'd rather not think that. So I'm someone who's been deeply immersed in the Michael Jackson situation because I was a mentor to the child in the 2005 case, and I was a witness in the trial. I met my husband there. He was the prosecutor. So this is something that we live with. And I can personally tell you that when people would learn that about me or about him, they would say, oh, so do you think he did it? Invariably.
Yeah.
And now, within the past 2 weeks, the conversation is, how did he get away with it?
How did he get away with it? Exactly, Louise. Yeah.
Well, when you look
and
at
it took Dan Reed and his documentary
to
change that conversation, to give people enough base levels of information to where they could draw their own conclusions.
Well, I think also documentaries have come into their own, and I think in part due to companies like Netflix, Amazon Prime. You used to have to really search for them, you had to be like a real documentary fan to see them. But now they are so readily accessible that people are watching them more and getting so much information. And about the Michael Jackson thing, having watched leaving Neverland, one of the things that struck me, just one of them, was how this was going on in plain sight, and we never saw it. He's getting out of limos with little boys. He's going everywhere with little boys.
And in plain sight in front of the parents,
Yeah,
and
oh
the
my
caregivers.
gosh.
Well, just like the casting couch, we turned a blind eye.
Yeah.
We, for some reason, society, I mean, as individuals, we may not. As individuals, we may rail on Facebook about it or whatever, but as a society, for some reason, it dissipates.
Well, because
the impact of it dissipates, and I don't understand that.
But Jamie, there's also deliberate machinery put in place that's spinning constantly with a story. He never had a childhood. He's just playing.
Right.
These are play dates. They watch movies. Or Harvey Weinstein is just he loves women.
You can't spin Harvey.
People must have.
Yeah.
They must have.
They must have.
Yeah.
But, also the thing with Michael Jackson, too, it's like the Bill Cosby thing, the power of that kind of celebrity that I don't think we have nowadays because there's so many things to watch. Everything's so spread out.
So many celebrities.
So many celebrities. You have your reality stars, the flavor of the month. It's like a different thing.
Yeah.
But like a Bill Cosby and a Michael Jackson, we are all old enough to know that kind of celebrity, it's almost like you couldn't imagine.
It's like the power of the
you
sun.
couldn't imagine it. Exactly. Even
like
that's why the parents couldn't imagine it.
Right.
It would just, it was unimaginable.
Yeah.
And so it's hypnotic, and you just want to be, within his glow.
Right.
That's another big
and that
part
makes
of it.
you feel so special, and it becomes what lights you up. We have to light ourselves up from within. We can't just depend upon the spotlight or
Absolutely.
the magic. And Michael Jackson's a magical person, and his talent was
illusion. It's not magic.
But he's that's what he emanates, and I think it was not just his talent, but I think to be in his presence, you just felt so special, and he was so much fun to be around.
Well, one of the parents, the mom said he was like another child. He was a part of our family. There was a trust factor that went with that as well. That somehow they were totally missing what was apparently going on.
And how interesting saying he was another child when he was in reality older than the parents.
Yeah.
So you're
Yeah.
And then there's that other thing that the parents are staying in a suite, and this is kind of nice.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Are we all parents here? But if we are all parents here, looking at the documentary, I'm like,
I know.
How on
How
earth
could that be?
would you allow this?
Yeah.
But they seem like reasonable, intelligent
people.
people.
And then that's that intoxication that you're talking about, And
I think a child molester who's very good seduces the entire family.
Yeah.
Oh,
and he really had the mothers in a trance. He would write to them, he would fax them, he would make them feel like kind of they were dating him.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways. And so
and the fathers were left out of the equation in a couple of cases.
And
you're right.
I know that English woman.
There's a show on Netflix, Abducted in Plain Sight. I don't know if you've seen the thing.
I have.
Yeah.
No, I haven't seen that one yet.
Similar. It's like what you're saying is like the abuser, like he was like in with the family first. I think he abused the parents first, or like he had like affairs with them and then like abducted the girl or something like that.
Yeah, he was everything anyone needed him to be.
Oh my goodness.
If he needed you in love with him, he was in love with you. So he seduced the mom, he seduced the dad, and he wanted the child. And then once he had seduced everyone, he just drove off with Jan.
Jeez.
On a camping trip.
And they were totally cool with it. The parents are just like, yeah.
See,
he's part of the family.
I hear something like that and I realize, God, I am really naive. Yeah. I mean, really.
Yeah.
No, it's not that you're naive. It's just that
can't imagine that.
You've raised kids, and so you would never have done that.
No. Yeah, exactly.
You can't judge other people by what your morals are. You can't say that, I wouldn't do that, so they wouldn't do that, because you just don't know. I remember when we were opening for, I'm going to drop a couple names here. We were opening for Diana Ross, and the valet fella in the dressing room at Harrah's was just fabulous old fella, George. And I sometimes would show up for a week or two at Caesars. No, it was at Caesars Palace. That's right, in Las Vegas. And I'd say, "How you doing, George?" He said, "Oh, I'm okay. I'm not that great. Mr. Cosby wasn't very happy with me last week." I said, "Well, what'd you do?" Because George, put shrimp in the room and drinks and everything.
Yeah, George is good.
George was great.
Yeah.
Well, he didn't get the right hookers for Cosby the week before, so Cosby didn't tip him. And I heard this, and I knew that Bill was married, but so it makes me aware of how brave these whistleblowers are. The people that step up and say this is going on, and I think it's wrong.
Yeah.
And it's got to take a lot of courage.
But I feel like if everything's consensual, even if the person's married, if everything's consensual, I don't have a problem with it.
Well, I didn't have a problem.
I mean, I
with
wish that George had received a better tip. I do.
Because
so does George.
But if the
he
hookers,
deserved it,
if the hookers were being sex trafficked, then we have another story.
Then we have another issue.
We have another issue.
But it does show you how, like, I used to watch the Cosby Show all the time. I mean, he was America's favorite dad.
Favorite, yes.
He was selling his
America's
Jell-O
dad.
pudding. He was like amazing.
So how do you guys feel about boycotting or stopping the consumption of a certain artist, whether it's Woody Allen or Harvey Weinstein or Bill Cosby, when there were a lot of people that worked on the Cosby Show who are wonderful, fine people, and their body of work exists in that program.
Great writing.
Michael Jackson's music
Great
continues to be as good as it was the day before everyone came to this discovery. And so what do we do with that? What do we do with art versus artist?
It's hard to say. I know the first Michael Jackson song I heard after watching the documentary, I switched the dial.
Oh, you did, yeah.
I know that was my reaction.
It's tainted. Everything becomes tainted.
I didn't enjoy it anymore.
Yeah.
I never watched Charlie Rose. Well, of course, I never watched him before, but I haven't watched him since. It's just stuff, people like that. You say, oh, Charlie Rose. Oh, no.
But, George Washington had slaves. So where do we...
Oh, well, there is a difference. Excuse me.
Okay.
That was societal. That was a condition of society at the time, that everyone had slaves. Not everyone has mistresses or concubines or are abusing young women. Oh, the brownies are done.
Yeah,
oh, good.
Sorry.
Brownies.
Can't wait.
That's my new watch. I don't know how to silence it. I thought I did. I'm sorry.
That's so great.
Oh, is it an Apple Watch? I have one too.
I hit silence, but it didn't work. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm sorry.
So, but it is a curve, right, Jamie? It's a curve. Like I think we all have to set our own place on the curve of where we get off. Like Mel Gibson, I'm off. Or someone who's a Scientologist. Like, I can't.
It's tough.
There's still a lot of people that worked on those movies with Tom Cruise, and why should everybody be
suffer?
Yeah.
Suffer the slings and arrows of your emotional outbursts or your judgment. The slings and arrows of your judgment.
Where I decide that this is not acceptable for them to receive my attention.
And you're boycotting them.
Yes. Yeah. I just, or what Andrea said, I don't enjoy it. And I had gotten to that place a long time ago with Michael Jackson because of your experience, my personal relationship with Gavin, and he's an honorable, honest person. I've never heard him be deceitful in any.
Wow.
It just in any aspect of who he is as a human.
Oh my gosh.
Andrea's watch is very, very chatty. It's a nice song.
That is. The
I know
first,
that's actually
30-second snooze.
That's my wife's alarm for waking up in the morning. So right now, I'm kind of groggy.
Right now, you're like,
it's just you're rolling over.
I'm going to take my watch off and put it in my purse.
She's gonna.
And hopefully, it will be quiet.
She's boycotting her watch. She finds its work to be unacceptable.
I was so careful. I put silence. I turned it way down.
I get it.
Oh, they are hard. Well, Thomas and Francesco are good about all this. Now, I know that you two guys.
You can hand them your watch.
You work on a lot of student films.
Never see it again.
A lot of AFI films. A lot of films where nobody's getting paid and everyone's trying to break in. What have you guys witnessed with people in your age group?
Well, I don't know. From my experience, it's definitely been the younger crowd, and I haven't seen so much of that. Like, I haven't seen like the power being abused.
Because everyone's the same age.
I think we're all, I think we're all just part of the new wave. Like when I'm on set with older people, the producers and stuff, people I don't interact with. Maybe it's happening there still. I don't know. But my peers are usually pretty progressive and like on the same page. I feel like if you're not,
I hope that's
kind
true.
of shamed.
Or if it's not just another naivete.
How would you know? Because just because they're younger, I mean, there's bound to be some abusers.
That's kind of like my people would never do that kind of thing.
Yeah. You're right.
Right.
Yeah.
And actually, it's important because in our documentary, we had one associate producer who's 25, and interview a couple people that are very young, because we wanted to get the younger generation's take on it. We didn't just want it to be.
Well, I feel like it's like me personally, like the boycotting thing. Like it's kind of like you said, like you just kind of naturally would dislike Michael Jackson's music. I feel like myself and the close people I've like worked with a lot, like that's kind of like the feeling we get is like, it's not like, oh, we're like out to send a message by like not like listening to them. It's like we genuinely are like, oh, that's just like fucked up, and it it's not appealing to me anymore.
You're tainted.
Yeah.
And it's not like it's not that the music suddenly
like
became,
to us, or at least to me.
The music didn't suddenly become not good. It's still amazing.
Yeah.
And I grew up with Michael Jackson. I have everything he's ever produced, but I can't turn away from what I see happening right in front of me. And my thing is, I will protect children over anything. Like I will always err on the side of protecting children. Like that's, to me, that's the place where I will come down the hardest. And so when it came to this case, the defense definitely wanted me to testify for them. And I kind of made it clear that I believed Gavin. And I was not in the room with anybody. I didn't see anything. I have no more understanding of what happened than
Were you more of a character witness then for him?
It was a complicated situation, and I mean, I could probably talk for days about it because it's a storyline that's longer than a miniseries. But Gavin had come down with cancer. He needed a clean room because his immune system was compromised while he was going through chemotherapy, and I gave the family money to build the room for him. So the defense was trying to argue that the family was shaking people down for money, and so they wanted me. They wanted to put my checks up on the screen and show that I had given this family money. Well, I gave the family money, and Gavin was abused. Those two things are not mutually exclusive. They both can have happened. And so, once again, I wasn't in the room, didn't see anything, but that's just what I chose to believe a young man who I trusted and believed. And now you're hearing Wade and James tell the same story. And so that's just where I think the truth lies. But no matter what you say or what I say or what you say or what you say, the truth is a concrete, it's a thing that either happened or didn't.
It's an absolute.
And I can believe or not believe it. It won't change whether or not it happened. And it's like science. Science doesn't care if you believe in it.
Yeah.
And so with this situation, we all just have to wrestle with whatever we know and draw our own conclusions. I've made mine, but I would certainly sit down and have a conversation with any Michael Jackson fan and love that person and respect their love of him and the music. So
yeah, but if it's Michael Jackson or if it's Woody Allen or if it's Bill Cosby, whatever, if you've experienced a similar abuse, if you've experienced a similar transgression, I'm sure it affects you profoundly when you see their work or hear them even speak. Just because it reminds you of your Uncle Louis or something.
Right, but on my Facebook, I keep getting an invitation to join a Facebook group of defending Michael Jackson. And there's thousands of people in the group. So I know there's thousands of people that just don't want to believe that this may have happened, and I understand.
There will always be that. Yes, of course.
Defending the dead person.
Say too, he's not around to.
But as you said earlier, the playing field is different now. All of these things are coming to light, and thank goodness.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Getting your documentary out so that young people that are coming to Hollywood to become actors, actresses, whatever. Thankfully for social media, then that gets out even further. That's always the problem, is getting the information out to the young people who are coming in.
Right, but I do think social media, which is so much a part of their generation, is
so much easier.
So much easier with that. I think the information is instantaneous.
Yeah,
getting the film out, and you have yours up on Amazon Prime,
right?
And then also jumpstarting the conversation where everyone's it's like a book club for the world. You can all consume the same content and then discuss it. So tell me about the feedback that you've been receiving.
We've been getting great feedback from people.
I've read some of your reviews.
Yeah, the reviews have been really good, and the reviewers and the press I've been doing has been really gratifying. I was just joking with my husband, as I said, because and I'm enjoying doing the interviews because I feel like I can talk about something more intelligent than how many times I've been married on TV.
There you go.
Or
not that I want to make fun of our conversation earlier.
You may do that. You may absolutely.
But, it's a chance for me to actually show I'm, an intelligent human being and can have a conversation about other things. So it's been very gratifying for me as well.
Yeah. But your conversations impact people, and they make a difference, and your interviews make a difference.
Yeah,
so I
that's
think
a fabulous
that's
thing.
where you're empowered there, and I think you should carry that empowerment as far as you can. And just spread the word far and wide. I think it's wonderful what you're doing. Yeah,
Thank you. Well, I'm really proud of it.
And how do you advise young people? I know you said your daughter she's interested in acting, and she's in plays, and she's in theater. So what are the conversations like where you say, okay, this would be a red flag. This would be where you'd want to walk in the other direction?
Well, it's interesting because my daughter, who is almost 15, she has a beautiful singing voice. She wants to sing. In fact, she just had her first paying gig, which we bring up. The recording studio was in somebody's garage.
There you go. Yeah.
Right. That's typical.
Which we kind of brought up, but I was with her the whole day, and that's what parents should do if they have children. That's what should be done. And
anytime they're in anyone's garage, I would say.
Yeah. Even the next door neighbors should be there. No, but she wanted to be like a PA on this film. She wanted to come see it. And I'm like, do I want her to hear this?
Yeah.
This is very adult conversation. My end decision was she did work as a PA for 2 days.
Good.
Because I wanted her to hear.
Good.
Because the only way somebody can protect themselves from something is if they know what it is.
Knowledge is power.
Absolutely.
You can't protect yourself from some nebulous thing out there that, So she worked on it several days, and she was really, really struck by a lot of the stories. She was there when the actress Tanya Walker that you hear say, and then he raped me.
That was harrowing.
Terrible.
In the trailer.
And then she turns around and has to go back to work on the set as if nothing happened.
Yeah, and it just, those stories meant something to her, though. And so hopefully that will help keep her safe.
Yeah.
Because I can't be in every garage.
No,
I will try.
You can't.
How long is
Louise was in my garage this morning. I don't know how she got it.
It's funny. I was there, too.
Really? Oh, my God. I thought I saw it.
We needed tools.
You're going to be stars. You're all going to be stars.
He has a lot of tools. And we're going to be stars.
Yeah. You're going to be stars.
It's like, you just want to give everybody that information so that, because when you hear these stories, you get that, like with Leaving Neverland, these kids are babies, so they're being told by Michael Jackson, this is something that happens, and you want to teach everybody this is not something that happens.
Right.
No, this is not something that happens.
Yeah.
Right.
I wish that it could speak to other industries and other jobs other than just acting and the theater world, because it does happen
Absolutely.
out there. Randy Gardner, the skater, Ty and Randy, he does a one-man show. I highly recommend it. It's a wonderful show. And he talks about the fact that his mom worked at a grocery store. I think I have this story right. And the owner, the butcher, raped her. And that's where Randy came from.
Oh, wow.
And he found out years later.
So he's the product of it.
That he was the product of sexual abuse.
Oh, my goodness.
Wow.
Did he have a relationship with the man?
I forget. I don't think so. I don't know. I don't think so.
Wow.
But that was, it happens everywhere, and it's just it impacts us as men. It's every time I hear it, I'm diminished.
Right.
Somehow, in some way, I feel diminished. I feel, there's another jerk. There's another guy, and we probably. I know I knew these guys. I know those guys that would push themselves on girls, and I know a couple of women that pushed themselves on men.
Yes, that does happen too.
I got driven by an agent. She was the top agent in the agency I was with at the time, and I got driven back to her house, and it was a compromising situation, and I thought that maybe it would be advantageous, but that thought quickly went out of my mind, and I called a cab.
Well, I think it also happens a lot in the gay community with a lot of, you know,
it does.
And, you know, I
Yes.
think that's a part of the population we should
It
not
does.
leave out. But it does happen so much in every business. And you know what else was interesting in the documentary? What you mentioned is we don't name names, and I shan't do that now, but in two of the women's stories, actually three of the women's stories, they're they're on camera, they're being interviewed, and I'm listening, and I'm going, like a light bulb.
Oh,
You
boy.
knew who it was.
I know
who
the
they were
guy.
talking about.
Oh, my God.
And I'm like,
Yikes.
oh my gosh, because I just knew them as really nice, upfront, fine, upstanding men.
Right.
And I'm hearing this other side, and it was shocking to me.
That
And I think
would be.
I think the Me Too movement is difficult for men who are good men.
Yes.
Because they feel like they're being painted with that brush. And I think most men are good men.
Mm-hmm.
And so what we can do is we can help good men understand what to do when they hear
About not so
brutish
good ones.
men talking
right,
this
about
way.
speaking up,
I have called out friends for that. And I
Good for
think it's
you.
important to do that. I think it's important that's what we can do. What can men do? I mean, women can protect themselves. They can be guarded. They can take someone with them. But, you know, what can we do? And I think what we can do is it comes with abuse too, spousal abuse.
Mm-hmm.
If we know somebody's hitting their wife, it's time to tell somebody.
But if
You
you
know,
see
you got-
a woman who's inebriated going off into a room
Oh, man.
with a guy,
Yeah,
then you
do something.
you intercede. You get in there.
Yeah.
You say something. You don't just think,
Yeah.
oh, this is consensual. If it looks
Suspicious.
like it's a little odd, or that everybody isn't in this together, then you can be that person. Even if it causes a scene, I think you have to be willing to cause a scene. I know a lot of college-age women who don't cause a scene because they were making out with the guy, and maybe it's my fault. I gave him the wrong idea. This is going too far. I shouldn't have been even.
I sent him the signals.
So, but you just have to scream, and everyone in the dorm is going to hear you.
Right.
And okay, but that is better than the alternative of what's going to happen if you don't make a scene.
Yeah.
And I think part of that is too the way women, certainly of our generation, were raised to be nice,
Don't make
be
a scene.
quiet, don't make a scene.
yeah.
Hopefully, tell me if this is correct. With your generation, that is different.
I would say it's very different,
Yeah.
honestly. Like I was just gonna say, like a lot of the most of the crews, I kind of like we become families. We work on everything together.
Sure.
I feel like when we see people that are weird like that, or like the most common thing to me is older directors or people above the line dealing with younger women talent who are small, no names, and very touchy, weird. And I feel like a lot of the crews I'm with will, like, especially the girls on the set, will just go up to the talent and be like, hey, if he's being like weird, like, or is he being weird, that kind of thing.
Oh, good.
And I feel like
Oh, good.
we all kind of like
looking
have
out.
this sense where we're like, this guy's like, ugh, like, you know what I mean? And like we all kind of like communicate just by looking at each other, like, he's no good, we need to make sure he's not doing anything weird, that kind of thing.
Right.
That's good.
I feel like that, especially with the women on set at my age, a lot of younger women are like really aggressive on set with that kind of thing, standing up for each other, and that's pretty cool. I mean, I hope that's kind of the way it goes.
Yeah.
I hope so
But,
too. I
yeah.
wish it had been that way.
Yeah, I mean, it's
decades ago.
probably the pendulum's probably going to swing, and I think we're going to be very hyper. That's what I
Well,
think.
we
with our
are.
generation.
We are.
Yeah,
I
very
think we
hyper
are.
aware of that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm hoping that's better than not being aware. You know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah.
All right, let's talk about your Amazon series called The Bay.
The Bay.
Oh,
So-
yeah, the Bay.
The Bay.
Yeah.
Now, is it all going on at the Bay?
Oh, yeah, it's
Yeah.
all going on at the Bay, especially now that I'm
Fred
there. Hello.
Armisen.
Yeah, of
Right,
course.
Fred
You're
Armisen.
bringing it.
And no,
Fred Arns.
isn't he in the Bay?
Yeah, I haven't worked with everybody.
Oh, okay. All right,
So-
gotcha. Yeah.
And it's
So-
got a big cast.
Yeah,
is a big
it's a big
cast,
cast. If you guys look, if you could click on the IMDb of The Bay, that there's a lot of people.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I understand they're all cursed.
Well, yeah, it's a soap.
It happens.
It happens. Yeah. I will say though that I am very happy because The Bay is the first program I've been on where I believe where I play someone that really has a job.
Okay.
I've never played a woman that worked.
And what does she do?
I own Patrick's Roadhouse, or where everybody kind of hangs out.
Oh.
Well, actually, my sister owns it, but she left town, so now I'm running it.
That's
Okay.
cool.
Be careful. You don't want to get electrocuted. You just-
No,
Like,
been there,
be
done
grounded.
that.
Make sure you're grounded.
It's not a good look for your hair. To
No,
get
no, no.
electrocuted.
So do you know, Jamie, do you know everybody?
Jamie, do you know somebody there?
No.
Oh, okay.
So it stars Christos Andrews and Mary Beth.
It's a big cast.
Evans. Is that your sister, Mary Beth Evans?
No, but
you look alike.
We were a Jeopardy answer together, though.
Oh, okay. All right.
That's nice.
So watch. It's on Amazon Prime, and you can watch. Everybody can start at the beginning. That's what's so great about TV or anything. You can start at the beginning.
You can start at the beginning. I'm not on until season 4. Well, actually, I think I'm like the last shot of season 3.
I gotta sit through 3 seasons.
Well, I think I'm in the very last part of season 3 where I play my own mother back in the 80s.
Really?
Oh, so we go back and forth.
You play your own mother.
Like there's a lot of layers.
Are you referred to as a socialite? Is that what your character is?
No, not now. I'm often referred to as a socialite, and I'm like, what the heck is a socialite?
Well, a socialite.
Somebody very social.
You're
I think
Roadhouse.
Bernie Sanders.
Well, yeah, that's why it's very different now.
Yeah, do you have a cocktail? How do you play it? Cocktail voice. Hi, boys.
Hey, honey.
Hi, what do you want today?
As much as I would love to get a chance for doing that, I don't think they'd hire me for that. One listen to this little Minnie Mouse voice, and that's not going to happen.
I was on the comedy circuit for 40 years. I know all the cocktail voices.
No.
Who wants to know what's Twitter trending, or who knows what's Twitter trending? Because it was like pretty much every Twitter trending item had to do with this one story.
Oh,
is it to do with the
Lori Loughlin?
Yeah,
Lori.
Yes.
So Lori Loughlin and Felicity Huffman. Federal prosecutors in Boston on Tuesday charged 50 people, including the actresses, Felicity Huffman and Lori Loughlin, in the largest college admissions cheating scam ever prosecuted in the United States. An admissions counselor named William Rick Singer, I'm not sure how you get Rick as a nickname for
William Rick.
But all right, was bribing college officials, coaches, and college entrance exams administrators, who then helped students secure admissions not on their merits but through fraud.
Yeah.
So this story has been monopolizing the news today, and I thought maybe we could discuss it, and then I'll read you some of the winning tweets. But your thoughts, because I know everybody here is daughter's still young. But
my kids, I have 2 kids that are now 31 and 34. You kind of live through this. They went to private schools. My wife and Ann and I were public schools, but raising our kids in Los Angeles at the time in 1984, it was very, very difficult to find a public school. In fact, the one that was near us, busing was still happening, which is fine, but we had 50% non-English speaking students, and the teachers were not bilingual. So how does that even work? I mean, it's just, it was awful. But being in that culture, and you see how the competition, these parents trying to get their kids, and it starts in preschool, and then in elementary school, and to get their kids in the right school. I remember being told by someone that your kids can't go to that school. That school is for children of captains of industry. It was that kind of a thing. But I don't understand. Listen, this has been done forever, where people donate money directly to the school so that their child.
The Trumps did.
Well, there you go. And also,
was $2 million.
Jared Kushner.
Jared Kushner with Harvard.
Harvard.
His parents donated
Does anyone think
$2.5 million.
Does anyone think that George W. Bush actually got into Yale? Anyone?
Right.
No.
But the thing is, to go about it this way, where the norm is this is happening all the time, and people are donating enormous sums of money so that their child, who doesn't have the SAT scores, doesn't have all of the requirements and specifics to get in.
Community work.
They're getting them in. All these buildings that are named after you.
After the captains of industry.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, and might we say, and taking the place of people who rightfully have earned the right to
absolutely.
That's the big crime.
Yes.
I feel like that's the most damage done here is the kid that was next in line.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and you can't look away from that.
And they're talking about redoing test scores, changing them, so that
they were changing test scores. They were giving letting the kids stay in and finish the SAT. When I took the SATs, my big thing was like half of the answers were unfilled in because I just think very slowly. And so
well, you picked it up.
Everything I answered.
You wanted to give every question.
My scores indicate to me that everything I answered, I got correct. Because my SATs were okay, but like or a quarter of them were left unfilled. If I had another hour, I would have been gold. But so just the idea that you get your kid extra time, that definitely is gaming it. And then the other thing was like taking pictures of your kid mid pole vault or and it's like putting your kid's face on the face of a kid that they took off the internet. Like it's definitely, completely fabricated, and it's lying. There's no way. They're not stretching the truth. It's not like a coach is helping you tell the best version of your story.
No, it's lying.
And what do they
falsifying scores?
Yeah, and the kids probably don't know.
They may
that
not
it's
even.
happening.
I was thinking that this morning. I was like, do the kids even know?
And the embarrassment of finding.
And the embarrassment of finding. And I feel funny about this because I know Lori, and I know William H. Macy. I do not know his wife. I don't know any of them very well.
They seem lovely.
Having done a project with, and the whole story is very difficult. And being a parent, looking at it.
But do you think that you get caught up in
I was just going to say, I think
parental
that
pressure?
Probably she's not that kind of person.
Right.
But you're just immersed in this kind of,
And I will say, I don't have any recollection of either one of those two people being that kind of a person at all, both being lovely.
Well, what I think is a shame is that because of social media, they are representing all 50 of the criminals who have perpetrated the same act.
The other ones aren't up there.
They're not up there. The pictures of these captains of industry, whoever the other 48 are, we haven't seen them. We only see Lori and Felicity.
But this is day one, Jamie. This scandal is still unfolding. We're going to learn a lot more about what all went on, and that this is maybe the first time it's been caught, but it's been going on for centuries.
I just think it's
and
a shame.
maybe it's like doping, where the parents were told everyone does this, and if you don't,
exactly.
Oh yeah, it is.
So who knows what they were told,
and common sense just goes way out the window
because it's your baby, your child.
Yeah.
And I also think that once you reach that level of society where it's like you walk into a room, if you're Andrea Evans, and people bring you a Snapple. Like it happened to Joe.
Happened to me just earlier.
People say, well, how many hookers would you like, Mr. Cosby? And you're just kind of used to that. And so the
I'm
idea
more of
that
the
you
Snapple
can't
guy. I don't get the hookers.
You're the Snapple, yeah. The idea that you can't place your child in the college of your choosing is just foreign to you. Like, well, what do you mean? I was just on a set yesterday where they brought me a Snapple to my trailer.
And at the same time, the schools are involved in this as well because they like having celebrities.
Of course.
Their kids are going there.
Of course.
Captains of industry,
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
But, I also think you have to look at how this affects the kids. I mean, I do have a daughter, but I want her to earn what she gets in life and to learn that she has to earn it.
And that's a big thing. Like last week, Jamie was talking about his daughter, Haley, is a big rising star. And Jamie was saying, when people say, are you proud of Haley? He says, she earned all of this.
I'm happy that she's living her dream, and I'm proud of her when I know that she's changing lives and that she's nice to the camera people and the grips.
Right.
When I go on set, she was on CSI Cyber for 2 years, and they loved her on set. I mean, and so that's when I'm proud, because I know she's a good person, and you're gonna experience the same thing if you haven't already have.
Yeah.
It's and boy.
But Haley gets to be proud that she earned this. And if you're handing your kid UCLA, they don't get that joy of accomplishment.
Right.
Mm-hmm. She earned it. She's in Rolling Stone. Rolling Stone has an issue this month. Women who are changing the world.
Yeah, changing the world. I think that's what it was.
Women who change the world, and she's in it.
How
she's
proud you must
one
be!
Of the
How
women.
amazing!
She's got a full page.
That's amazing.
And I think, okay, now I'm proud because she is really having an impact on society, and she's gay. She speaks to the LGBTQ, EIEIO, LSMFT community. I don't know.
I'm never going to learn that.
There's a new initial added every year.
I don't want to one-up you, but I'm on page 82 for men who are changing their shoes.
Oh my God! Fabulous.
But are you a good person?
I am. I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he's
it's
got
reflected
great
in
feet.
my shoe choice.
All right, so let's read some tweets. Christopher Bowsey tweeted, I didn't wake up this morning thinking that Felicity Huffman and Lori Loughlin would be charged of a crime ahead of Jared Kushner and Donald Trump Jr.
Right, yeah.
Why is 2019 so weird? And then
That's a great tweet.
Yeah, isn't that great? Erin Cameron tweeted, do these people know big donations are a totally legal way to bribe your children's way into college?
Yeah, sadly, that's true. Yeah.
But why would you want to bribe your children?
I don't know.
That's what I don't
Sad.
get.
But this whole scheme just feels so crooked. That if let's say I was working with a counselor and it was like, oh, let's get your test scores up, and like, because there are counselors that legitimately come into the home and help everybody. Okay, sure, let's get organized, because the kids they're at an age where they stop listening to you guys, and it's like, oh, you have to do the essays, and your kids just like eye roll and like, oh. So sometimes when a third party comes in, it's like, all right, here's the plan. Yeah. And I just feel like then he took the plan and went, okay, now we're also doing this. And everybody was just like, okay.
Is that part of it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
well, what about having a tutor come in? That's on the up and up, and helping your kid with the SAT.
That's fine.
Because standardized tests are not easy.
Yeah.
But it almost feels like the same thing as the first part of our conversation, which is to recognize when things have turned way too far left and get off.
Yeah.
And say, no, we're not doing that. I'm not.
At some point, one of these people, one of these parents must have thought in the back of their mind,
is this
really?
right?
Am I doing something
She's
that's
not a
right?
pole vaulter. She really, you can get a lot of lovely qualities, but she is not a pole vaulter. We can't say that about her. Our little angel.
Yeah, our little angel.
She's the only one who wears a tutu when she pole vaults. My little girl.
So I don't know. What would you guys say to parents who really feel that almost that peer pressure, like where everyone went to UCLA? I just cannot believe that she's not going to get into UCLA. Like, you can go to a city college for 2 years. There's just so many different ways to go.
Well, and I think it exists all over. I know with my daughter, she was a competitive gymnast for a long time.
Oh, you told me that, yeah.
And was very, very good. Being with a bunch of parents of people training for the Olympics, which is what they're technically doing. She was at the gym like 40 hours a week during the summer, 26 hours a week after school. More if there was private coaching. I mean, we lived at the gym.
Yeah, and the coaches will tell you she's doing fabulous. She could be Olympic. She
had these Russian coaches.
She could be Nadia Comaneci.
And she had these Russian coaches, and sometimes it was hard to understand. And but talking to some of the parents who are so living through their children and wanting their children to go to the Olympics, and somewhere they lose sight of.
It's just fun.
Right. And I remember, I think I met her when she had just stepped off that treadmill.
Right.
And there was just this sense of relief when she talked about, like it was, that used to be my life. And now I have all these other things I could do because I'm not so consumed with all of that.
Yeah. And for all of us, it was a relief.
Yeah.
I bet.
Sure.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say, I think it's an interesting conversation that we're having right now. Like, this one event is particularly interesting, but it's been building for a long time. We've been talking about just the relevancy of college education. We've been talking about how Harvard has been discriminating against Asian Americans. And we're also talking about the long-term effects on kids who grew up sort of with that pressure to succeed academically, to get into like a good college. And I feel like and we're also, the younger people especially are talking about like economic and social injustices. And this is like a prime example of something like that. So I think maybe like as the current, Gen Z, I think when they become parents, I think we might see a different
I hope so.
approach.
I mean, it's that thought that you can shortcut it somehow. There's got to be a way that I can shortcut it.
Well, again, it comes down to integrity.
Yeah.
It comes down to the integrity of society, the integrity of our nation. And we have lost a lot of integrity.
We sure have.
And lately. And I think the good part about that is the exposés that are occurring, the Me Too movement, the Never Again stuff, and this blowing up today.
Your documentary.
It's going to, and it's going to change. I hope it's going to change the world. I hope people pay attention. And you asked, what would you say to a parent? I would say to a parent that your children are going to find their way. Let them follow their lead. Let them tell you what they feel like. If they don't feel like going to college that freshman year where everybody else is going, they don't have to.
Also that pressure that you might feel to fight every battle for them or that they'll die on the field if you put your sword down.
Yeah.
It's like there's a point around the age of 17 where you need to put your sword down and let them.
Or they won't be able.
You launched them you gave them the tools to do this, and they have to do it.
Give them their neck. Give them their lead.
Roots and wings.
Parents, I think parents have to admit to themselves that they might be using their children as a status symbol for themselves.
Yeah.
And that's a very difficult thing to admit. Obviously, not all parents with successful, academically, successful, high-achieving kids are like that. But every parent should check in with themselves and make sure that they're not putting that pressure on their children because of what it gives them, like emotionally or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
My son is one of the smartest, caring people I know in the world. He's so compassionate. I just love him to death. And he dropped out of school after his sophomore year. He was a philosophy major. And he said, "Dad, I'm wasting your money." And I said, "Well, what do you mean you're wasting my money?" He said, "I'm a philosophy major and I don't know why." He said, "I should know why I'm a philosophy major and I don't." He said, "I love it, but I can read in my room. I'm just not getting that much." And I said, "Well, Thatcher, you should be a philosopher." I said, "Not a day goes by that I don't walk by a store window that has a sign in it that says philosopher wanted. Apply within."
It's a good gig if you can get in.
And within.
Yeah.
And within.
Yeah.
And within.
And within.
And within.
And within. That's the joke.
So let's end with that's a I loved it.
You gotta wait.
I loved it.
I got it stepped all over it.
This is let's end with Facebook feed time. And this comes from my friend Luann Cowsill. And she posted this meme, and I like it, and I thought maybe you guys could comment because I'm not sure if everybody agrees with this. But she writes, the meme says, "A real woman can do it all for herself. A real man wouldn't let her."
Ooh.
And then she wrote, "That's my hubby. When he's home, he's the best." So how do you feel about that? I don't think those two should be married.
Well, there's two ways to look at
that. It's like a couple of 3-year-olds.
A real man wouldn't let her, meaning like he's going to help do the dishes and things like
or
that.
Or if she's carrying something heavy, he'll be like, "Let me help you carry."
But anytime I see it say where a man wouldn't let her.
It's
let her.
Not a good choice. Yeah.
Well, allow her maybe would be a better word. Or a man will step up. A real man will step up and help her.
Yeah.
So maybe Thomas, if you
by
picture
her side or something. Maybe?
Yeah.
It's raining. And you don't know the woman, but she's carrying something heavy and trying to open a door.
Oh yeah, you help them, but you help anyone. I mean,
but I would help a man in that situation too.
Yeah.
So you don't have to assign the roles.
No,
for
the thing is, like, my parents kind of drilled that into me, so like I kind of like automatically do the like open the door
Gentleman.
for the
Good
lady.
for your parents.
I'm so old-fashioned.
I hold the door forever.
Yeah.
But you know what? If I saw this young gentleman who's a man and he's younger than me struggling with opening the door, I'd help him.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's like the way I feel like it. That's like natural.
Yeah.
But I walk on the outside of the sidewalk. I'm just so old-fashioned.
I know what you're talking about.
My wife
my dad always did that.
is on the
Protect
outside.
your wife from puddle water.
Yeah, from the coaches, from the carriages going by.
I do that too.
But I do that too. And
Yeah.
God,
Right.
I carry a hanky.
Now that's a good one.
A Foursquare. Because that comes in handy. I have handed this to many a woman.
That's a very
woman
class.
Or guy, even guy.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah. Classic.
Yeah, but would you hand it to a guy who's crying?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the conversation continues.
But the guy will blow his nose on it before he hands it back.
I want to thank Jamie Elcroft, Joe Cipriano, and our guest, Andrea Evans.
Well, thank you for having me.
And once again, where can people find you online?
Well, you can go to my Twitter, Andrea Evans Prod, and please see my documentary, Rocking the Couch, on Amazon Prime, and my series, The Bay.
Great.
On Amazon Prime.
I'll watch it tonight. Can't wait.
Thank you, Thomas Hubble, Francesco D'Amando, Dina Friedman. I'm Louise Palenker, and we will see you next week with our guests, Steve O'Donnell and Jimmy Brogan.
All right.
Yeah.